I'm hearing a lot of jargon that is like clearly specific to this group and or Scientology of like terms that only people in the group would know. I'm hearing unpredictability and like putting you in the position of needing to always like be better and work on yourself, and you're not there yet and you have to prove yourself to her, and like then, you know, you don't know when she's gonna be mad at you or not, then you're just like always gonna be on edge and always like having to try to prove something because it's never gonna be enough. What would trigger her moments of rage? Would it be like something someone said? Would it be like did she feel like she'd been like someone was trying to interrupt her power? Like,
yeah, I think that's hard because sometimes it would come out in a critique where she would just lay into somebody and you're like, whoa, okay, that's rough. Like there was an instance where we were in class at her house and there was a student that was talking back to her, a male student, and he started arguing and she was like, that's your problem because you have a mouth and da-da, and it turned into this knockdown, drag out verbal assault that went from the inside to the outside, and Meagan was crying. She was like, this isn't okay. Yes. Do you remember this?
No, I don't.
She doesn't remember it. You've blocked it from your memory.
You were crying.
You were really, really upset because you were sitting next to me and you were like terrified. You were like, this isn't okay. And they were screaming on her front lawn. It's like,
so crazy.
and I was like, I'd never seen that. I'd never seen that. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I grew up in a stable home.
Right,
I mean, I feel like everyone has fucking childhood trauma, okay,
Yeah.
to one degree or another. But for the most part, like, there was no, like, yelling or physical abuse in my home. So this was a very different environment, and I kind of didn't know what to do about it.
I mean, was some of this, were people kind of chalking it up to like, well, she's unfiltered. This is like her way. She's from New York.
That she's from New York. It's tough love. And I kind of likened it to like, oh, well, it's like military training almost. So if you have your loyalty and you're tough and you're strong, then you're just going to prove yourself and you're going to go out there and you can work for anyone. And she would always tell this story of a student of hers who was working in Titanic. Maybe he wasn't an extra, but he...
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, yeah, yeah, it was Leo. But he had a role in Titanic, and she said that he tells her a story of like, yeah, James Cameron got on the megaphone and he was like screaming at some of these extras, and so she would kind of tell stories to like support her behavior, I guess, as like, guys, I'm just preparing you.
I'm
for
just
what's
James
out there.
Cameron, yeah.
Right.
It's
Okay.
fine.
This makes me think of one of the quotes from the article. So y'all, to if you want to read more about the situation and get kind of other perspectives on this story, The Hollywood Reporter came out with a piece about it. They interviewed a lot of different people for it. It is called, what is it called?
Post-traumatic
stress.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, what's that say there? Flip over.
It's called Post-Traumatic Stress, Ex-Students Decry Nightmare Acting Coach. So in this article, a woman named Maria Angelica Cuervo, who spent did you know her?
Yeah, Maria Angelica, yeah.
Maria Angelica, who spent 2 years at the Conservatory beginning in 2012, says she related to the 2014, I'm quoting the article, related to the 2014 film Whiplash, which centered on J.K. Simmons' frightening jazz instructor. This is her quote. I thought, that's like Gloria, but the guy in the movie is like 10% of Gloria. She was way worse.
I haven't seen that movie.
Oh my God.
Now I know why.
I would. It's one of my favorite movies.
I feel like I should watch it now.
Yeah.
You guys, he is very extreme in that movie. So if she's 10, that was 10% of her. That's like terrifying.
She's a absolute. I want to find the right word here. Like, actors access, like on the nose.
like a caricature
of someone who's going to really get in your head,
like drill it into you.
Yeah,
like tough
just like
love,
I said at the beginning, being like one of the first exercises, like what's
break
the
you
worst
down
thing
to
that's
build
ever
you
happened
up.
to you? And I just remember us all sitting in
I don't remember that.
in a group, and she was like, let's just say our deepest secrets and like 10 things we never want. And I was like, why does she want this from us?
Well, because she would say those things later
because she was going to use it
in a critique in public and share personal private information about you without your permission to a room full of people.
So I'm just going to go ahead and say, if you're in a group of people or even one-on-one with a person and they're asking you to divulge all of your vulnerabilities and trauma to them for some like trust exercise or whatever, fucking don't do it.
Yeah, now we know.
Yes, now we know.
Always
Now
a red
Now we know.
flag.
Now we know. I know.
But like I feel like that is a thing that it's very easy for acting instructors
Truckers.
acting instructors to utilize, because acting is all about vulnerability. It's all about accessing your emotions and using the experiences that you actually have within you. So I see the justification for it. Like, it makes sense. You got to like get it all out there and lay all out of your feelings out on the table or whatever. But like, that's not the way to do it. You don't have to divulge your trauma to anyone who you don't decide to do that to on your own.
I think one of the problems there is that there is like, a percentage of techniques that she's using that are great and correct and whatever.
Yeah.
They're just so mixed in with her absolute inability to have empathy, and you get like a really odd little mixture.
And she does say, if you ask her, she'll say this in open classes. She'll say, I don't have a technique. The technique I teach is do it now. So when you get on set, you can't be like all method and be like, hold on, I'm preparing my, she's like, they say action, like you have to go. So she's like, whatever you need to do to get there, or whatever I need to do to get you there. That would often happen in showcase coachings. She would direct really, really fast to get you somewhere, so it would be a little bit more intense.
But there'd be like slapping in that too, right? Like,
yeah, I did witness. In critiques, I've witnessed her telling a male student to take a female student and throw her over his lap and spank her hard.
Oh my God.
I've also witnessed her have a group of girls line up and slap. I was one of these people. I had to slap my friend. This happened twice, 2 different girls, in the face. And it was a line of us, like 6 girls, like slapping this girl. I don't remember what the circumstances were, but it was something to like fix about the person or wake them up or something. I don't remember.
oh my gosh.
So there was that. There was also, in terms of like maybe directing a scene in a play she was directing, or a showcase, or even just a scene in class. If it was like a love scene or romantic scene or sex scene in any way, which, by the way, in the class, there was a rule where you could not date or sleep with anyone else in class. So that you felt safe and protected and that you were in like a safe environment. And then even in rehearsals, when you had rehearsals, you were not, if you kissed in the scene, you didn't kiss in the rehearsal. You would just save that for the stage. So there would be instances, and I experienced this myself, where you would be directed to do something, because she'll say it. She's very like sexual in her directing and her teaching, and she would direct you to do something. And there were things that I did that I felt very uncomfortable doing, and I tried to like, what is that when you try to get a horse to go over a jump and they kind of rear back? I would kind of like rear back away from it because it was uncomfortable.
Don't rear back too much from the microphone, though.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. I would kind of rear away from it, and she would yell at you like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna give this," because she would always double and triple cast her plays. And
she covered every base.
She would say, well, I'll give the performance to someone else. Or if it was in a showcase, she's like, well, then you're not going to perform in the showcase. And if it was a scene, it would be like, well, why aren't you doing it? Well, why aren't you doing it? And it was almost in the form of like, it felt like threat and coercion is what it felt like.
Yeah. If you always have that dangling over your head, of course you're going to listen to whatever she says, because everyone you want the role, you want the part. That's why you're there.
Well, you also want to avoid being publicly shamed and humiliated.
Right.
Like when I look back at the grand scheme of the picture, I'm like, okay, what are the types of abuse that exist? And I'm like, oh, there's physical. What defines physical? There's emotional. Okay, what defines emotional? Psychological, financial, sexual, cultural. And I look at all these and I read all the definitions and I'm like, there's a majority there.